John Hooks. What if I told you that the average millionaire in America didn't make their fortune from a tech startup, an inheritance, or a lucky crypto bet? Pattern interrupt threes. In fact, most of them never earned a six-figure salary in their lives. Pattern interrupt 12s. They used a system so boring, so overlooked, that it's practically hiding in plain sight. And it's been quietly turning ordinary people into millionaires for decades. Pattern interrupt 22s. But here's the kicker. You've probably been taught the exact opposite of what actually works, and that mistake could be costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hook End. Act 1. The setup. The millionaire next door myth. Let me introduce you to a guy named Bob. Bob is a high school teacher from Ohio. He's 65 years old, drives a 12-year-old Honda, and lives in a modest 3-bedroom house. Bob never made more than $65,000 a year. But Bob is a millionaire. Not through a lottery win, not through a side hustle, but through a slow, methodical process that most people dismiss as too slow. Bob is not an outlier. According to the 2023 Ramsey Study of Millionaires, 79% of millionaires in America never received an inheritance. 62% of them are self-made, and the vast majority, nearly 80%, earned less than $100,000 per year during their working years. That's a pattern that shatters the get-rich-quick narrative. Pattern interrupt. Think about that. The typical millionaire is not a tech bro in a hoodie. They're a teacher, a nurse, a small business owner who's saved consistently. The data is clear. Wealth is built on behavior, not income. The top 3 professions for millionaires: engineers, accountants, and teachers. Teachers. The people we underpay are statistically more likely to become millionaires than professional athletes or entertainers. Why? Because wealth building is a game of time and discipline, not luck. Cliffhanger. But here's the question that keeps people poor. If it's that simple, why doesn't everyone do it? Because the system is designed to trick you into doing the opposite, and that's what we're going to unpack today. Act 2. The mechanism. How it really works. Let's start with the engine. Compound interest. Albert Einstein reportedly called it the 8th wonder of the world. And while he might not have actually said that, the math is genuinely mind-bending. Imagine you save $500 a month starting at age 25. You invest it in a diversified portfolio that earns an average of 8% annually, roughly the historical return of the S&P 500. By age 65, you'd have contributed $240,000 of your own money. But your total nest egg? Over $1.6 million. That's $1.36 million in growth from nothing but time. Pattern interrupt. Now, here's where most people get it wrong. They think they need to find the next Amazon or Bitcoin to get rich. But the data shows that timing the market is a loser's game. A famous study by Dalbar Inc. compared the returns of the average investor to the S&P 500 over 20 years. The S&P 500 returned about 9.9% annually. The average investor? Just 3.6%. Why? Because they bought high and sold low, chasing hot stocks and panicking during crashes. The enemy of wealth is not low returns. It's bad behavior. Cliffhanger. But there's a hidden layer most people ignore: taxes and fees. Let's say you earn $100,000 and save $10,000 in a regular brokerage account. You pay taxes on that income up front. Then you pay capital gains taxes on your profits. Over 30 years, that can eat 30 to 40% of your returns. But if you use a tax-advantaged account like a 401k or Roth IRA, the math flips. In a Roth IRA, you pay taxes on the money going in, but all growth and withdrawals are tax-free. Over 30 years, the difference is enormous. Let's run the numbers. $10,000 a year for 30 years at 8% in a taxable account versus a Roth IRA. Taxable account, about $1.1 million after taxes. Roth IRA, $1.4 million. That's a $300,000 difference, just from choosing the right container for your money. Pattern interrupt. Now let's talk about the biggest silent killer of wealth: lifestyle inflation. When your income goes up, your spending tends to follow. It's human nature. But the wealthy understand a concept called pay yourself first. They treat savings as a non-negotiable expense. Let me tell you about a real-world example. A couple named Sarah and Mike. They both earned $80,000 a year, combined $160,000. They lived in a modest apartment, drove used cars, and saved 30% of their income. After 10 years, they had $600,000 saved. Meanwhile, their neighbors, who earned $200,000 combined, bought a big house, 2 luxury cars, and saved nothing. After 10 years, the neighbors had zero net worth. Same decade, completely different outcomes. Cliffhanger. But wait, there's more. The wealthy don't just save, they optimize. They use strategies like dollar-cost averaging, which means investing a fixed amount every month regardless of market conditions. Studies from Vanguard show that dollar-cost averaging reduces the risk of buying at market peaks and smooths out returns over time. It also removes emotion from the equation. When the market crashes, most people panic sell. Dollar-cost averaging forces you to buy more when prices are low. That's the ultimate contrarian move. Pattern interrupt. And here's a counterintuitive truth. Debt can be a wealth-building tool, but only if used correctly. Good debt, like a mortgage on a rental property that generates cash flow, can amplify returns. Bad debt, like credit card debt at 20% interest, destroys wealth. The average American household carries over $8,000 in credit card debt. At 20% interest, that's $1,600 a year in interest alone. If that money were invested instead, it could grow to over £200,000 in 30 years. Every dollar spent on interest is a dollar that never gets to compound. Cliffhanger. Now let's zoom out. The wealthiest people in history didn't get there by working harder. They got there by letting their money work for them. Warren Buffett made 99.8% of his wealth after age 52. His secret? He started investing at age 10 and lived modestly. He still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. That's the power of delayed gratification. Act 3. The takeaway. What you should do. So what do you do with all this information? First, stop chasing the next hot thing. The data shows that low-cost index funds, like those tracking the S&P 500, outperform 80% of active fund managers over 10-year periods. Second, automate your savings. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking to an investment account every payday. Treat it like a bill you pay to your future self. Third, maximize tax-advantaged accounts. Max out your 401k match, then your Roth IRA, then consider a taxable account. Fourth, avoid lifestyle inflation. When you get a raise, increase your savings rate, not your spending. Pattern interrupt. Let's run a final scenario. You're 25, earning $50,000 a year. You save 20%, that's $10,000 a year. You invest in a diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds. You increase your contributions by 2% every year to keep up with inflation and raises. You never touch the money. At 65, what do you have? Assuming 8% returns, your total is over $3.2 million. That's from a starting salary of $50,000, and you don't need to be a genius to do it. You just need to be patient and disciplined. Cliffhanger. But here's the closing twist. The biggest barrier to wealth is not math, it's psychology. We're wired to seek immediate rewards. The stock market feels risky, but the real risk is not participating. Inflation erodes purchasing power at about 3% per year. If you keep cash under your mattress, you're guaranteed to lose value. The market has positive returns in 73 out of 100 years. The worst thing you can do is nothing. Pattern interrupt. So here's my prediction. The next decade will be a golden age for disciplined savers. As technology reduces costs and access to investing becomes easier, the gap between those who understand compound interest and those who don't will widen dramatically. The rich will get richer, but not because they're smarter, because they started earlier and stayed the course. Cliffhanger. Your move. The average millionaire is not a genius. They're just someone who decided to pay themselves first, ignored the noise, and let time do the heavy lifting. If Bob the teacher can do it on $65,000 a year, you can too. The only question is, will you start today or wait another year? Because every year you wait costs you not just the money you could have saved, but the compound growth of that money forever. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Start small, start now, and let time work its magic. Herc, end.